Hi, and welcome to the walkthrough of the new TOPdesk features that we released in 2017. My name is Jeroen Janssen, and I'm a consultant with TOPdesk, and I'm implementing and have been implementing TOPdesk with a number of our customers over the last couple of years. And I want to share with you some of our latest features and functionalities that we've released in the last couple of months, and that I think you can be using to improve the use of your TOPdesk. The first thing I want to show you is TOPdesk Labs, and a number of our SaaS customers may have already seen this functionality. It's basically a playground or a first release of some of our latest functionalities. They can already start using as a SaaS customer and see if it can improve the way you work with TOPdesk. If you go to the settings menu and you click on settings, you'll go to the functional settings where you'll find the Labs feature. Within this Labs page, you'll find a number of functionalities that are ready to be released, but we're still making improvements on, such as the audit trail in the web interface. I'll show a little bit more about these different functionalities at a later stage, but this is where you would enable these functionalities to start using them. So if we scroll down, we can see more things like collaboration in cards, the standard solution knowledge link, and other functionalities. And you can easily enable but also disable the functionalities if you don't want to use them anymore. The first functionality that you can activate in TOPdesk Labs that I want to focus on is the collaboration in cards. As you can see at the top of the screen, there's an orange box there, and this functionality is actually wasn't known internally as Project Peacekeeper, because what we heard from a lot of our customers that when they had a team working on the same kind of issues and they just had a queue in which they could open tickets or issues from, then it could be that two operators opened the same card at approximately the same time and they wouldn't know that the other person had this card open. So what could happen is that the first person was working on the ticket and saved it and closed the ticket, and the second person at the same time was also spending maybe 20-25 minutes on closing a ticket, and then when they finally saved the call, it gave them a pop-up saying this card has actually been modified by someone else, and it turned out that they had done the work for nothing, or at least the end user had already gotten a response from someone else. Because obviously we don't like the idea of wasting time for your operators, we've added this functionality which shows you if someone else actually has this card open. As you can see here, we can see that Paul Middelkoop has this card open at this time. If multiple operators are logged in the same card at the same time, it will show you that multiple people are looking at it. The next functionality I want to show is the creation of knowledge items and actually using knowledge to your advantage. Because what we heard is that more and more organizations, including our own support departments, want to use knowledge items to their advantage. Actually creating more and more knowledge items to essentially make best use of shift left and shift left left, getting the information from your specialist, second and third line teams to your first line, or maybe even all the way to your end user. But obviously it needs to be made very easy to create those knowledge items. So we can see here we added functionality. What you can see is that you can view how this functionality works once you've activated it in Labs, and when you're happy with that, you know how everything works, you can say you got it, and then you can start using it. If I search in the knowledge items for anything, so for instance hot water, I can see that the search results are updated and I can use any of the existing knowledge items. But maybe when I've already created or answered the call, I can also click the button to create a new knowledge item. So when I click that button, it easily creates a knowledge item for me, which I can then instantly save and can easily be added to the self-service portal as well. So this really helps in making it easy for your operators to, after they've spent a little bit of time on answering one particular customer, then use that same knowledge to publish in the self-service portal or to their team members, so that knowledge isn't instantly lost but is shared with the rest of the team. The next functionality that I want to show you is some of you might be already using knowledge items, and some of you might also be using standard solutions. And back in the day, the most or the strongest functionality of TOPdesk of these two was the standard solution, because it could contain the actual question, the answer, and it could also involve the whole processing of the ticket. Later, we added loads more functionality to the knowledge items, so rich text, pictures, and also being able to publish them in the self-service portal with the new self-service portal that you have since the new version. So at that point, it became a little bit difficult to decide which one to use, because both of them were useful, both of them were strong, but it was very difficult to explain which one is better or which one you should use. So we've done something with that. So as you can see here, we have a knowledge base item that contains a lot of information. So we have the text and the picture, and we can see that we have keywords which can be used in the self-service portal. And here we can see that we can also make it available in the self-service portal. Additional to that, here is a standard solution. So it has the brief description, but also pre-fills the category and subcategory, and also impact, urgency, duration, maybe also some processing, so whether it's completed and how much time we spent. Maybe we already know that for some standard things that we do quite often. And it has a request and action. But the request and action of this knowledge item is a lot stronger. So what we introduced, for now it's in Labs, is to link a standard solution. And if we click that button, then it gives us the list of possible standard solutions. We can choose the one that's applicable and link the two together. When we now go back to the standard solution and we refresh this card, we see that it's now actually making use of the text and the pictures within the knowledge item. When I now create a new first line call, I fill in the caller, Mr. Dean in this case, and I type in the brief description that, again, the watery coffee. It automatically searches in the knowledge base and finds those knowledge items. And when I apply that knowledge item, I can see that the standard solution is linked and what content is in there, and I can easily apply. And then I can see that on the right-hand side I have, or actually on the left-hand side, I have all the processing information, so whether it's completed and that I've spent 5 minutes on it, while on the right-hand side I make best use of all the content and the rich text and the pictures and possible links to other sources of information that are all filled within the ticket. The next thing that you might have already seen if you're a SaaS customer, and that you will have seen in a different way if you're an on-premise customer, is the creation of events. As you might know, the triggering of emails, which you can already do within TOPdesk yourself, is triggered by creation of events. So what needs to happen in order for a specific email to be sent? This functionality used to be in a separate tool which was running on your server, so you'd have to go there and create those events, or if you were a SaaS customer, you'd have to ask our support department to create those events for you. But sometimes you just want to create them really quickly, and you don't want to bother with either going to the server or having to ask and wait for our support department to create those for you. You just want to make it easy and create those yourself. What I'm going to show here is a quick overview on how to create those events in the new functionality that is in that we've moved to the TOPdesk environment. There is a more extensive explanation. There's a recorded webinar for this, which you can view if you want to, but this is just a quick overview in what it can do and how it can work. When you go to the module settings and you go to the action management, and there you can create a new event. And you choose the module that's applicable, and you give it a particular name. So in this case, we're going to name it P1 is updated by the caller, and we're going to make that active. Then we need to choose what happens. So it's with the edit of a card, and we can give it a description. Here we specify which conditions apply. So in this case, the condition that needs to apply is that the priority equals P1. And there's a specific specification that it occurs with any edit, and the field that is edited in this case is the status. So if I choose status, I don't really care what the old value is, but I do care about the new value, and the new value is updated by caller. When I then save this, I've now created the action. So the event occurs on the condition that it's a P1 incident, and it occurs with the edit of the status field where the new value is updated by caller. And what we can do here at the bottom left is we can link specific actions, and those actions are emails. Could be emails, could also be action sequences or HTTP requests. I'll talk about action sequences a little bit later. But this is now an easy way for you to create those events without any hassle, just in your TOPdesk environment without having to go somewhere else. The next thing I want to show you is actually linking the action. So this is the email to the event that we just created. So what you see here is an email that we've set up previously. You could already do that. And here in the linked events, you can choose the trigger that we want to use. So the P1 updated by caller. So these two things are now linked to each other, so that when the condition that we set applies, this particular email is sent to the operator with the content saying a P1 call has been updated by the caller, and then all the other content of the email. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, and those are the action sequences. And I'm going to show you what that is. So if you go to the modules page and go to action management, you can create a new action sequence. You specify the module, what it's created for, again, just like you do with any other event. You give it a specific name. And here you can do all the calls that you normally do for an API request. This is the difference with HTTP requests. You can create multiple steps, so you're not bound to one line of code. You can actually do multiple steps and work through those different steps. Another thing you can see here is that we have some predefined integrations. If you go to our marketplace, which in this case is filtered down by integrations, we have some predefined basic setups of integration. So for instance, in this case, the TOPdesk link, if you go to that page, you'll find a little bit more information on how it works and what it does. And you can actually download the files that you could load into your environment to start using immediately. I've actually downloaded these a little bit earlier, and we're going to create and then input those into this environment. I'm going to click the import button and then choose one of the files that I downloaded previously. In this case, the escalation to the supplier. So here we see it. If we scroll down, we can see that there are a number of steps, in this case 6 steps, which this action sequence runs to in order to make the integration work, and there's a little description of all the different steps that it takes. So the first thing, what it does, it logs into the first TOPdesk and finds a login for a particular operator, and it gets the authorization for that. It does the exact same thing for the second TOPdesk, because it needs to log into that one as well. Next thing, what it does in the second TOPdesk, so the target TOPdesk, we create a ticket, and we create that ticket with the authorization that we have earlier, and this information which comes from the first TOPdesk. Fourth step actually takes the number of the newly created incident and puts that in the first top desk, and then it logs out of both top desks to make sure no connections stay open. So this is a really easy way to, other than you normally did with HTTP requests, which just contain one line, to have multiple steps running sequentially to make connections between different tools. It could be one top desk to another top desk. It could be a connection with top desk and Pushbullet or Trello or any other tools you're using in order to push information from TOPdesk to another tool or from another tool to TOPdesk, as long as the other tool has an API that we can make use of with this action sequence. Next thing that I want to show you is a functionality that's been added. It may seem like quite a small functionality, but it's actually quite useful. What we'll show here is we have a call which has an SLA link to it, or I'm going to link an SLA, and what we've added is a time remaining clock. It's just one field that we added which calculates the time between now and when a call is due. So this makes it a lot easier to keep a good eye out for, okay, is this call actually due soon, or do we still have a lot of time before this needs to be solved? It just makes it a lot easier for your operators to make good decisions on what they need to pick up sooner or later. Another thing we've added recently based on feedback of our customers is what we heard a lot is that in change management we have authorizations. So manager authorizations, either a line manager or other managers within the business. But sometimes these people, they do go on holiday, they're off sick, or they're not at their desk for a period of time. And what we found is that this could really stop a process of a request for a new mobile phone, or any other request for new software or new hardware or anything else that needs an approval. And actually, what we previously had, we had a manager field in which we could fill in a manager. So in this case, Mr. Bauer. In the self-service portal, there's the approvals. In this case, we're logged in as Mr. Dean, and we actually can't see this authorization because it's for Mr. Bauer. But he's actually on leave, or he's away, so this process is actually stuck. What we've added based on this feedback is a manager group, let's say all the team leaders. So you've got the team leaders, of which Mr. Bauer, but also Mr. Dean is a part of. When we now log into the self-service portal, or same self-service portal of Mr. Dean, there's another button that says a backup. So Mr. Dean is a backup for Mr. Bauer to approve this request. So if he knows that he's on leave or he's not there, he can still continue the process and approve this request for a new phone, making sure it's then forwarded on to the relevant department to give out this phone to the employee that has requested the phone. This just makes it a lot easier to make sure all your processes keeps flowing, even if unexpected things happen within the business. Another thing that was added recently and has been requested from a number of our customers is a duration report, because the reporting on are we doing the right things and are we doing them fast enough can be on how long does it take to resolve a call, but quite often, and especially for managed service providers, it's also true that they want to know how long did it take for me to respond to the first request. So how long did it take me to acknowledge the issue or to give the first fix or the first response to an issue. And we've actually done that by, if you go to the dashboard, by creating a new report. It's called the duration report. If we click on that, then what you'll find is that you can choose from a certain number of steps. So what should be included. Second one is what period should be included. So for instance, 2017 in this case, and maybe filtering down on branch. And then what it does, it calculates the duration from the call date to the first status change. And you can specify which statuses are applied here. When you then execute the report, you can see the time on different percentiles, how long it took for that first response, that first status change to occur. So in this case, 2 calls were responded within 2 minutes, and the last 2 calls from 21 to 23, it actually took very long, because the last one is 187 hours, which is maybe a little bit too long to respond to your first call. So this really gives an overview of not just reporting on, okay, how long did it take for us to solve things, but also how long did it take for us to get back to our customers with the initial response and making sure they're updated on what's happening and that we're actually working on it. A lot of the things that we've seen today, or a lot of the things I've shown you, are currently in labs. Some of them are already in the actual tool. And it being in labs really means that we want to get quick feedback on those features. So when you start working with it, so for instance this duration report, and you find anything that you think could be improved, feed that back to us and then we'll improve it. As soon as it's a fully releasable version, it'll be moved out of labs into the normal standard software, which means by then it's also available for all the on-premise customers. So some of the functionalities that you've seen are for now only available in labs, other ones are available to everyone who uses TOPdesk, and you can start using it from tomorrow morning essentially. So those were the things I wanted to show you today. So just some of the features that I think are important and that can make your life a little bit easier and your work a little bit easier. I hope it was useful, and I hope you start using a lot of these features from tomorrow onwards, or maybe even from activate them right now, and they'll help you in your quest for better service delivery and will make the lives of your operators and your end users a lot easier. Thank you for your time.